My name is Alex, and welcome to Paranormal Artist, the podcast where I talk about hauntings and the supernatural. Listener discretion is advised. This audio may not be suitable for children. You find yourself having a late night drive to clear your mind. The night is calm, quiet, and it's raining. The only light that can be seen comes from the headlights of your car. A fog begins to roll in off the lake, so you turn your fog lights on, hopefully to see better. Continuing your mind-clearing drive, you suddenly see a figure off in the distance. As you get closer, you realize it's a girl, and she looks scared. Her clothes and hair are completely soaked, wet, from either the rain or the nearby lake. You stop the car to ask if she needs a ride somewhere out of kindness, because normally you wouldn't do such a thing after listening to so many true crime podcasts. She gets into your back seat and gives you an address that's not too far ahead. Just a few miles, she says. She sits silently in the car with you. It's eerily silent. Quieter than when it was just you alone in the car. As you pull up to the house, there's a single light on. You turn around and tell the young lady that you've arrived. But she's gone. She's disappeared. Nowhere to be found. The only evidence of her being in the car was a puddle of water left on the seat and the floor where she was sitting. On today's adventure, we are going to White Rock Lake in Dallas, Texas. The story of the Lady of White Rock Lake began sometime in the 1930s, with several versions of this story going around for several years. The first story I've heard about this goes, a lone girl was standing by herself on the side of the road. She flags down a driver that was simply passing by. As they pull over, she tells them that she's had an accident and she needs a ride home. The driver noticed that her clothes looked as if it was from the 1920s, and she was completely soaked as if she had just been in the water. She gave them the address to her house. When they got to the house, they turned around to tell her that they've arrived, but she was gone. She vanished into thin air, leaving only a puddle of water where she was sitting. The driver gets out of their car and walks up to the front door of the house. They knock on the door. A woman answers the door, and the driver begins to explain the situation to the woman, telling her that they picked up a girl who gave them this address, and then she disappeared as soon as they got to the house. The woman tells the driver about the tragic death of her daughter. She tells them that her daughter fell out of a boat and drowned many years ago. In another version of this tale, we are getting taken back to the 1920s. A couple was partying on a boat with some friends out on White Rock Lake. The couple gets into an argument. Both of them are intoxicated. The boat gets taken back to shore, where the woman gets out of it and gets into the man's car. She's still very upset from the argument, so she takes off in his car at a high rate of speed. At some point, between her being drunk and upset, she loses control of the car. The car crashes at the intersection of Lother Drive and Garland Road. The woman is pronounced dead on scene. They say that her spirit manifests near the location of her death. Supposedly, she appears in a few different forms. Sometimes she appears as the hitchhiker, and other times she might appear as just a woman in a soaking wet dress. When the drivers stop and pick her up, she will get into the back seat of their car. When they arrive at her destination, she'll no longer be in the car. She'll have disappeared without them even noticing. She only leaves a puddle of water, or even sometimes a garment from the 1920s, as any evidence of her being in the car. I'm not exactly sure where her destination is, but I have to assume it's somewhere on that road that she passed away on. Maybe even somewhere near her house. I don't know. In the third version of this story, there's a couple coming back home after a night of partying with their friends. I'm not sure if they're older, middle-aged, or younger, but they were out partying nonetheless. The car comes to a stop. The road is dark, and the only light source is their headlights. The couple spots a girl in a torn-up white dress standing in the middle of the road. The husband is yelling and calling for her, but he gets no response. The girl is staring at him, and naturally, the couple feels a little bit creeped out. But out of kindness, the husband asks if she needs a ride home. The girl, still silent, simply nods her head and makes her way to their car. She gets into the back seat. The man asks for her address, but she doesn't respond. They all sit in silence, but his wife claimed that she can hear the sound of water dripping off of her hair and clothes. The wife even claimed that the girl's hand brushed against hers, and her skin was as cold as ice. After some time, the girl finally gives the address to the man. Once they've arrived, they can see that the house is in shambles, boarded up everywhere, and the grass unkept. They both turn around to make sure this is the correct place, but to their surprise, the girl was gone. She disappeared without them even noticing. She didn't even make a sound. The only clue to her even being in the car was the puddle of water she left where she was sitting. Officially freaked out, the couple exits the car and goes up to the house, knocking on the door and hoping that somebody would answer. When suddenly an old man comes out. He doesn't seem surprised by them. It's almost as if he was expecting them. The couple, still freaked out by the disappearance of the girl, begin to explain what just happened and tell them about the hitchhiker they picked up. Still not shocked by their story, the old man tells them that the hitchhiker was his daughter, who died a few years ago by drowning in the lake. The old man's lack of being shocked suddenly makes sense to the couple, because they are not the first people to come to his house telling him the story of the hitchhiker on the side of the road. In this next version of the story, there's no driving, there's no lady standing on the side of the road, there's no cars involved at all. There is, however, a group of teenagers just wanting to have fun and party in a secret spot that only they know about. In the summer, a group of kids sneak out of their house and go to the lake for a night of drinking and swimming with their friends. This was in an isolated section of the lake, a part where they couldn't be seen having all the fun from any parts of the road surrounding it. They begin swimming, drinking, and making great summer memories. But one girl is not really having such a great time like the rest of her friends. Against her better judgment, she decides to not be the buzzkill of the night. So she jumps into the lake and starts having fun like the rest of her friends. Until she feels something brush against her leg underwater. She starts to panic. She was trying to tell her friends about what just happened, but they don't believe her. Despite being extremely creeped out and scared, she decides to continue swimming with the rest of her friends and enjoy what's left of the night. But it happens again. She feels something grab her leg and try to pull her underwater. She is in full panic at this point because she is 100% certain that she did in fact feel a hand try to pull her under. But there's no telling what or who it was. There is no update on whether the girl got pulled under or whether her friends witnessed her attempted drowning or if any of them survived. Unfortunately, there was no follow-up to this encounter and no additional information that I could dig up about this. I recently visited White Rock Lake. It was cold, but it was a very beautiful place. I saw a lot of people jogging and walking around and just doing their own thing, enjoying the day. White Rock Lake has had a lot of history over the years, with it starting out as a water reservoir. Soon after that, it stopped being a reservoir and became used for recreational purposes. Not long after it became a recreational area, people began building lakefront houses so that they had better access with their boats to go out during the summer days. The lake was officially opened in 1933 and became part of Dallas a few years later. It's about 1,015 acres, and there are several ways to enjoy a day out on the lake, whether it's running, walking, or just going out on your kayak. There's several activities that can be done out there, still to this day. Like most lakes, swimming is not allowed. The lake is about 20 minutes from downtown Dallas, and it is beautiful. Even in the winter where it's clouded over, it's very beautiful. I enjoyed my time there. The earliest written encounter with the Lady of White Rock Lake was from Frank X. Tolbert in 1953, in the Neiman Marcus, telling the story of a couple who encountered this apparition. Because this story has been around for so long, people often go out at night to see if they can also encounter the Lady of White Rock Lake. If they're lucky enough to see her, it's best to pick up the lady and take her home. Because I haven't heard of what happens to you if you leave her where she stands on the side of the road. I feel the need to always share the suicide and crisis lifeline, because it's helped me, and I know that it will help others also. If you are feeling suicidal or have suicidal ideations, please call or text 988. They are open and ready to help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. You matter. You make a difference. And it's okay to not be okay. Once again, my name is Alex, and this is the Paranormal Artist Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at AlexAgain with 2 underscores, or on TikTok and YouTube with Paranormal Artist Podcast.